Look, thanks for coming out to Longreach. I think it's fantastic to see such a biodiverse group, which is fantastic. And those who came out of the river last night, it was great to share our little bit of backyard with you that we were able to do in such a short time. It was nice to relax and get a feel for this part of the system. I do have a bit of a problem though. Richard had a bit of trouble getting on the bus from the bottle shop, and all his mates were looking after him, and he still didn't get on the bus. But anyway, that's a bit of an in-joke, but it was great to see everyone relax and have a good time. Free-flowing rivers are essential for booming tourism. It's a no-brainer, really. Tourism certainly is, like one of what was discussed earlier, is certainly with the free-flowing rivers. It's really an eco-tourism playground at the Lake Eyre Basin. It's totally undeveloped as far as I'm concerned with tourism development. And, you know, free-flowing rivers are really the... I'll just get used to this. Free-flowing rivers really are the tangible point of difference and the real value proposition to the consumer. It is really, if you stop the rivers and flowing, it certainly would result in no point of difference. It would result in no market edge, and our playground of ecotourism, the tap would slowly be turned off and die first. The key strengths for tourism really in the basin is the unique natural and cultural biodiversity story, the rhythm of its seasonality and the strong sense of community. This seasonality is really evident by the big flood events like we saw with Lake Eyre filling and water inundation for nearly 4 years in a row, and it was just fantastic for tourism. The aviation that came out of that, the fly-ins, the flyovers, the interest in the media just captured a nation. There wasn't one person, one travel agent, one media person not talking about it on a tourism potential. So our challenge as tour operators now to get them to see the basin on the ground, to see and engage with the basin, not just see it from a helicopter look. But these type of events are really what gives us the attention, I think, that we need for all sorts of reasons, not just tourism. I think it gives you attention to help you fight to keep them flowing free and help keep that biodiversity, not just in your hearts and minds, but use tourism as an extension to get to the broader community. The tourism opportunities are really all about the responsibility, the experience and the understanding of the market. And of course, regional and local product examples, I've got a few in there, and also the tourism vision. Tourism responsibilities of the Lake Eyre Basin biodiversity is really broken up into a couple of different things. I've just broken up into sustainable practices, managing the impact and responsible track and special use areas. In early meetings of LEB, we're talking about fire collection on the town common of Inaminka many years ago. That certainly has been controlled a lot. There's those issues all up with the free camping. Free camping has exploded. It's become a big issue through a lot of Western Queensland, and there is a drive strategy that's been put in place very quickly by the Newman government to try and do something about a lot of the issues with the drive tourism. And one of the biggest issues is the free camping, because it is in some places out of control. You can't just stop it on one hand because they bring lots of money to those communities, but on the other side of it, it's bordering on being irresponsible in some areas. Building relationships, you can see the two holding hand on the top of Big Red there. Really, that's what we're in the room for. We're all here about building relationships, but tourism's role is to help you build that relationship outside this room and get it to the broader community. The engagement of landholders and Indigenous access and all sorts of stuff to get people in touch with the really true natural and cultural assets of the basin is really what I'm interested in seeing develop in my time, my children's time, because it's going to take some time to build trust and to build best practice and to get people actually working together so it's sustainable and it's all for one goal, building the community and building the environment as a better place. Fostering improvement, environmental outcomes, leaving it a better place is really what best practice tourism is all about, and it's an opportunity to educate through ownership, and this can be easily measured by reversing the past negative impacts of tourism and their trends. Untapped market, a bit of a spelling mistake there, but the untapped market of the Lake Eyre Basin for tourism, in my opinion, is the high yield, increasing the basin's values to the average Australian or overseas people who don't share the LEB magic that we all share in the room this morning. Really, you know, we've got birdos, we've got people who just like to get back to nature, people who like camping. There's lots of special interest that this eco playground just opens itself wide open to. And I'll come back on that with the market overview shortly. But tourism, and good ecotourism and good high value tourism, is really all about the experience. And the visitor experience is really about the untouched, the pristine, the space, the freedom, the characters, the flat events, the desert, the biodiversity. The experience drilling down is natural and cultural engagement, hospitality and a sense of community, the value of the learning experiences to the consumer, visitors' ownership and ambassadorship. We don't want people coming out here just sitting in a bus and going, oh gee, the air conditioning's a nice temperature, we're getting fed well. They're all givens, we've got to do that. What we want them to do is say, oh, here's that plant, you know, this Mitchell grass country is on cracking clay soils, and we want them to appreciate our environment so much that they go back and look at their environment a little bit different. And that's what our goals are in true engagement of the environment. But moving forward, the real opportunities, the real future for tourism and the real future for this extension of tourism to the LEB community really as a whole is new product development. Basically, new product development is where we take the opportunities of what market demands are or market interests are and what the interests of the LEB community are, and bring those together in new opportunities, new engagement, new product experiences that don't undersell and don't undermine and don't overuse the resource or the natural resource of the eco playground called Lake Eyre Basin. The essential thing that has to happen with new product development is, because we're all small operators in tourism out here, and even the council areas really only border on just becoming big business in the scheme of the East Coast and the multinationals that really control tourism and control a lot of what we're talking about in the room. The cross-community coordination of planning and implementation is the critical way forward to develop this new product development, to realise the true potential. Last night, Gary and I were having a bit of a discussion on developing things, and we wouldn't knock back the Hall of Fame ever in Longreach as a product. But there are other things that other communities that are smaller that have their own special niche that no one else has. It's the point of difference that makes the difference. And we need to be helping in these plans, bring alive the themes that are natural occurring in those areas, or something quirky that comes out of the characters and that landscape, and actually go along with that to develop and seek a need. If there's not a need in the market, well, forget about it. So if we don't tune in to what the market demands are and what the country can give or what the people can give, we may as well give it away. So it has to be cross-community coordination, not just planning. We see a lot of planning. Everyone gets sick of planning. We need to see implementation. Implementation is always where the rubber hits the road. You know, this drive strategy that's out there at the moment with the Newman government, it's going to be fantastic to have a look at implementation. I tell you what, I want to see it, because I think that's where it's going to get really interesting. When they start actually having to negotiate with a whole heap of different councils, where they have to negotiate with whole different lobby groups that have all got different interests. It's a bit of a minefield, but I think it's a real interesting best practice if we can pull it off. The Central West Outback Queensland Tourism developed an action plan involving things from themed and storytelling workshops, access and development to Indigenous and private land special places. And this particular paper was really a section. How are we going for time? Okay, good, plenty of time. Okay, this plan, and anyone's welcome to get in touch with me and either send me an email or get a business card, and I can forward this on to you, or through Richard or Amber, we can follow up. This plan here was really getting the ownership in a certain part of the region, so that the Queensland Tourism, or Tourism Events Queensland as it's now called, actually commissioned the tourism opportunity plans right throughout Queensland. So it was sort of a broad brush approach of what were the key things that were ripe for the picking or needed a bit of work to get going to develop tourism in these different areas. And our particular region included the Gulf, the Outback, and also included the Western Downs. So it was a huge area. How do you get those people together and get the ownership in the group, in the area, in the region, to actually get these projects up and running? So we actually just stuck with the Central West. We had a lot of goers around sort of Tambo through to Boulia, and got them all in the room. Got about 29 players in the room. Lots of email, lots of telephone consultation that happened over about a 3 or 4 month period. And now we have the Central West Tourism Action Plan. There's now negotiations being put together for implementation. And again, implementation is what we're really keen on. We didn't spend that much money on the planning. We only spent about 18 grand on the planning process, but we intend on spending about 112 grand, 122 grand actually on implementation. That'll get phase 1 out of phase 2 in this document. But if you're remotely interested in tourism or in your community and developing your community, and you want to see what one set of communities are doing in a regional situation, feel free to get this document and do whatever you need with it. The market overview is quite simple. The people who are travelling throughout this area and to an extent down through many parts of the basin, the number one thing would be the drive market. The drive market is your 2- and 4-wheel drive vehicles, camper vans, campers. This is a growing market, the self-drive. The registrations of caravans and campers just keep rising every year, so it's a big thing. That's why this drive tourism strategy is so important. It links back to that and why we have to actually get some sort of control, some sort of management, but also some encouragement to having a best practice way forward for utilising that market and getting the economic benefits, but also the environmental benefits that need to come hand in glove. The coach market, this historically was the campers back 20, 30, 40 years ago. Everyone went around Australia camping. That's virtually died in the backside. There's not much of that left at all. Using the motels and coach groups of 40 and 50 in the motels, that was very strong for about 20 years, and that's now dying off as well. And now we see this domination of smaller groups, less volume, and more niche market. The market's changing. Our traditionalist market, where the people born before 1946, and those people are passing on or too old to travel, and are changing completely as time rolls on. The market we have now to play with and understand and try and communicate and package for is the baby boomer market, which are the people born after 1946. Very different groups of people. Some people like their independence. They don't want to be trapped on a bus with someone that they don't like for 2 weeks or for 30 days. It's more like a weekend, 4 days, 7 days, short break, or very independent travel, self-drive. The special interest in high yield, this is the most under-converted market opportunity for the basin, in my opinion. It just loans itself to this. We have the space, we have the individuality that these people desire in what they seek. A lot of these people are very well travelled, they've been around the world, they like their nice glass of wine, and they really are not interested in cheap and cheerful. They want value. Value comes a lot with the learning experience, but it has to be mixed with the right level of hospitality and engagement. And it has to be fair income. The plastic stuff's over. But anyway, I won't go on too much because our time, I'll just flick through that a little bit, but that's by far our biggest opportunity. Regional product packaging, we've just moved with the changes a little bit here, and we've just made an all roads lead to Rome or all roads lead to Longreach type of thing, where we've got our Longreach Outback Getaway, which is our cheapie, not just for the cheap market, but for the independents who don't want to be trapped on a bus together for any length of time either. They want a bit of independence. And then our legendary Longreach Winton is our fully inclusive for our empty nesters, which is the back end of the traditionalist market, and also coming on to the nomad, sorry, not the nomads, anyway, don't worry about that, the baby boomers. And the baby boomers, of course, want the dinners, they want to have the drinks and nibbles at sunset, all that sort of stuff, and that cultural experience, but also those learning things with the environmental engagement stuff. So that's 4 themed dinners between Winton and Longreach, and it's all the major attractions, but it also includes some exciting stuff as well. The Birdsville Desert Escape has been really tuned back. We used to have an 8-night tour, we now have a 3-night tour. Instead of adding the Longreach and Winton stuff onto it, we've actually cut all that out, and we've now just got the Longreach stuff separate, the Birdsville stuff separate, and they can bolt it together if they wish, or we can do that for them to fulfil the needs of the longer duration market. But all of a sudden, by shortening it down now, the caravanners who don't want to take their van to Birdsville can jump on our bus. Once a month we go down there Thursday morning and come back here Sunday night. So it's just tuning in to try and make the product more flexible for more markets, to try and get more bums on seats. And then Cairns to Longreach and Overlander, and then the corner country, and basically just trying to put different options there. If we have a suite of products, someone likes this lolly, someone likes that lolly, but once they taste the lolly, they might want another one. So the idea is to get a network of suites together so people get into the system of touring out this way. The Longreach stuff has really been tuned in for the same stuff, but it's really all about meeting first-hand landholders, engaging with people, slowing people down so that they can smell the ranges, but smell the roses, but also being organised enough where people don't feel like their time is wasted and that they're being efficient with their travel and getting value for money. Multi-day passes, hang on, that's the slide we're on, sorry. The multi-day pass is all about putting a value offering there. It's also about awareness that there are these things to do, and also it's all about packaging the experience so people don't miss out on anything. But and also the freedom that people get by having a pass and having the flexibility of a 7-day window. That's a very quick one of that. And of course the river cruises, we've just really turned that on. We've only just got into the cruise business again. This is the 3rd time in the last 25 years. But last May we grabbed a hold of the MV Explorer and we thought we need to reinvent this. We need to take the theme, grab some hospitality, grab some good food and service, and grab a really lovely environment and cruise people around, but important to stop. I mean, we didn't have a lot of time last night, but we stopped for a little bit, and that is magic to people. They don't get that. The city does not stop. The busy towns do not stop. It's really basic stuff. It's not rocket science at all. It's a bit like keeping rivers flowing and not having people mine on your floodplains. It's really it's no-brainer. But just the tourism vision really, I guess, is it's sort of tourism needs to play the role of the extension of the Lake Eyre Basin community to the visitor and protect and interpret the natural and cultural environment. Visitors are a part of the solution through their responsible footprint in region and their political impact out of region. We need to educate, we need to basically give them a clean wash so they can go home and be happy and be confident in their country. Tourism creates regional development which needs to be utilised as a resource that has mandatory planning, community ownership and environmental and cultural sustainability. Free-flowing rivers are the secret for booming tourism. There's one common denominator in the room, and it's the passion for the region. Let's continually use tourism to connect that to the wider community and start selling the true value of the basin through tourism to Australia and the world. Thank you, and if anyone would like any more information, my email address is certainly with Amber, and if anyone would like to have a chat later, I'll be around for a few hours.